But I have a question. Like, what do you say to the person that's just socially awkward, right? Like they want to have a friendship, even just one real friend, but they're just maybe socially awkward and just not good at meeting people or making that connection with anyone. Like, what advice would you give that person? Because there's a lot of people that want to have just even one real legit friend, right? But they just struggle to, make that connection.
Yeah, that's a really good question you just asked now. Hello and welcome to another episode of Benrolins Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Benrolins. I want them.
And I'm your co-host, Dwayne Fur.
So guys, today we're going to be talking about friendship. And friendship is so important because everybody in the world is in one form of friendship. And sometimes your friends are closer than family. And I want to say this before we begin. Drake sang on the song Fair Trade. He said, I've been losing friends and finding peace. But honestly, that sounds like a fair trade to me. So, Mr. Dwayne, how you doing today?
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm great. Can't complain. So I want to start things off by asking the obvious question.
Yep.
What do you consider friendship, and what is friendship to you?
Man, I consider friendship, or let me step back and let me step back by saying, I consider a friend someone who is willing or who has the asset to help you get to your destination or your destiny.
Okay.
So I believe, like, in order to have someone we call a friend, you guys got to have some kind of interest. Like, you don't want to call someone your friend who you guys really don't vibe together, or you guys are totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You can let's just say, for example, you don't smoke dope, and your friend smokes dope, and it's like, hey guy, let's go smoke dope. Like, nah, I want to go read my book or something. So you got
Gotcha.
yeah, you have to find somebody who you guys have like a common interest. That's where I'm going to start. But sometimes people want to just say, oh, this guy's cool, which can just be friends. I want to learn I want to learn his interest, kind of understand who he is and what it's all about. I mean, if that's what you really consider as friendship, that's your opinion. But for me, I believe someone who is a friend is somebody who is willing and is able to help you get to your destination or help you get to your dreams in life. And sometimes anything other than that is an acquaintance.
Okay.
Yeah, anything other than that is an acquaintance. And I believe friendship is so important. And friends got to be somebody who is going to be there for you. I mean, with a friend, you can fight with a friend today, and tomorrow you guys go for lunch. You guys go out for lunch.
Right.
But nowadays, people don't really consider friends. They just want to hang out with anybody. And at the end of the day, you realize that, oh, the person you attend, that's your friend, that's really not your friend. The moment something hit, bam, they are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they're not there for those hard times.
So how about you? What do you consider friendship, and what's friendship to you?
Friendship to me represents like brotherhood, sisterhood,
Yep.
because you can have male and female friends. And to me, I think friends represent different representations of yourself, right? Because everyone has a serious side, a goofy side, a business-oriented side. And I think sometimes if you have a group of friends, sometimes a little bit of self is in each one of them, like a representation of yourself, and vice versa. So you might have that friend that just makes you laugh all the time, that represents your funny side, and you might have that friend that's always serious, or you know what I mean, or the friend that's about a business that you can go to about business things because that's what you guys have a common interest in, like you said. But to me, friendship is just a bond, man, and just a genuine bond between people. That, like you said, you could have an argument one day, and the next day, it's still, you got each other's back no matter what tomorrow brings. So, yeah.
Yeah, you said something which I consider really brilliant, and that is smile or laughter. Sometimes your friends put a smile on your face, and I want to say this to anybody watching right now, the audience. Always make sure you smile. And you got to understand something. When you smile, you don't enjoy it. You don't enjoy your own smile.
Right.
The person who is watching or seeing you enjoys the smile. And sometimes some of you might be single now. Maybe you were frowning and the lucky charm had to pass you by. So try to always smile, because when you smile, your face changes. Have you ever, when you smile, and just say money, let me say money.
Money.
When you say money, do you realize you smile? Like
Unless it's a bill, then I don't. Then I don't smile. If it's a
Yeah.
bill, I don't.
Yeah, we have to start like smiling just to make sure the environment is kind of like cheerful. And friendship is really important. And I'm glad we're talking about friendship now when the world is kind of going south. And we got to understand that never underestimate anybody and do not ignore anyone. Like my definition of friendship, I said there's someone who is willing and is able or capable to lead you towards your goals, your destination in life. I'm just going to take an example. Nobody, let's just assume you want to go to, let's just say, United Kingdom.
Right.
You want to take a flight to United Kingdom. And you go to the airport and they said, oh, this plane, we don't have any destination for this plane. Are you going to get in?
Me? No.
Or you're going to find
No.
or you're going to try to find a plane that's going to United Kingdom, right?
Right. Exactly.
So that's what I believe a friend is. A
Okay.
friend is somebody who is willing and is able or capable to take you towards a line. I mean, the person might not have financial resources or anything, but if the person has like some kind of insight to contribute, like, hey, try to give you like advice, like when you're down, the person is there to motivate you up and stuff like that. That's what I consider a friend. And sometimes we get caught up in this society. We just think like, oh, because we don't know ourselves, we just want to hang out with anybody. And we
Right.
just want to go out.
You just want to belong.
Have fun and just feel a sense of belonging. Because we as humans are social creatures. We're never created to be all alone. We're created to kind of relate to one another. But in order to relate to one another, first of all, before you want to build friendship, you got to understand who you are. Before you want to give yourself to somebody, you have to know who you are first before you're giving yourself to somebody. Because just imagine, you don't know nothing and I don't know nothing. Man, someone got to go find something.
Right. Or you both just be lost.
Yeah, you guys, one person got to know something. And you got sometimes when like I understand something, the moment you rich or you got plenty of money, all of a sudden everybody want to be your friends.
Of course.
But when you're poor, you realize that even your close friends deserts you. They don't really want to come to you.
Well, I think in those times of like uncertainty and like everyone wants to be around a winner, but everyone has to lose. And I think in those moments when you lose, that's who you find out who is your real friends and who really cares about you, right? Because a win is a win, right? It's easy to be around that. It's easy to celebrate that. But it's at those times of loss and uncertainty that defines to me who your real friends are, right? Because speaking from personal experience, when I was in my early 20s, I had a big circle. Big circle. And as I got older, that circle got smaller and smaller and smaller to the circle that it is today. But even though it went from being 15, 20 people to 5 or 6 or 7, that 7 people is stronger. That bond is stronger than that 20 plus people that I used to hang out with will ever be. Because that 7 plus people were there for those hard times, the good times, the funny times, the sad times, and we're still connected. And I think that's what builds a real bond and friendship, because who doesn't want to be around for a win, right? But it's that loss. It's that loss that you get to see who is who, and not just your friends, but even yourself, right? Because your friends go through loss and things like that, and we're not always equipped or know the right thing to say at those times of loss, and we might feel like, oh man, I'm not being a good friend because I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. But people don't realize just sometimes being there, you don't have to say anything. Just being there makes all the difference. Because sometimes someone just needs someone to be there with them in those moments.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying. And sometimes being there is so important. And sometimes when people have let's just assume a friend has some kind of difficulty going on, and they're trying to like talk or like explain or try to like just bring it out to you, sometimes we don't really listen.
Right.
And that's something too. Like we don't really listen. We're just like, hey, we're trying to like give our own advice or just trying to lay a point out and like, hey, nah.
Make them feel better.
Yeah, make them feel better. But sometimes we gotta like step back and listen. Listen. I know it's really hard to listen sometimes, but you gotta understand that when you're going through some challenges yourself, and when you just have the sense of belonging, when someone is listening to you, you feel a little bit relief. You feel relief. So we have to also understand that it's not all about having friends, but you also got to be a friend. Yeah, you also have to like. That's why I said earlier, like just a few minutes ago, that you have to know yourself before you want to give yourself to somebody as a friend. I know nowadays it's difficult sometimes to find friends.
It is.
Because let's just assume a guy want to have want to take a lady as a friend. Sometimes nowadays they will be like, oh, they want something else.
Right.
They don't want friends. They want the relationship. They want sex. They want like so now it's kind of tough. Oh, do I want to have a friend with a lady, and she's gonna want something else, and I don't have that thing to give her. So sometimes we find ourselves kind of like in a situation where we don't really know whether we should go ahead with this or we should step back. And another thing which is important is a friend is closer than a brother. Do you have anything to chip in for that saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like for instance, I have two brothers, and I love them to death, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. But we have a huge age gap, right? A huge age gap. So the things, and they have friends through their age. So the things that they've experienced throughout their life, I wasn't able to contribute to that or have the right tools to, help them because I was 10, 11 years younger. And then the same goes, right? Like me being in my early 20s and my teens, they couldn't really relate to me because this is a whole nother generation gap. But your friends or real friends, that's who will be, they're there for those situations. They're there for that failure. They're there for that growth. And you experience it together. And because you experience together with those people, you become closer naturally than you do with, quote unquote blood or anything like that.
Yeah, that's really true. But based on what you said, so is it only the age gap? Let's just assume you're a twin.
Okay.
Is it going to be the same thing or it's going to be different?
I think it would still be the same.
It would still be the same.
It would still be the same. I think I know siblings that are really close.
Yeah.
But I can only speak for myself, and like I said, because I did have that age gap, it naturally played a part of me eventually. Because when you're the younger brother, you want to be just like your siblings. You want to be, because you're still trying to figure out who you are. So you want to be like your siblings. You want to be like your older brother. And then when you become a teenager, that's when you get your own circle, your own friends, and you start to come into yourself. And, that distance becomes a thing. And it's not like a bad thing, but you're becoming who you are. And you have these like-minded people, your friends, who are also coming into their own, and you naturally form that bond and it becomes stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so do you believe, like, if you have, like, true or real friends, they show up every time in your life?
Oh, yeah.
And family show up most of the times when there's a disaster. Do you believe in that saying, or...?
What I will say is that I've been fortunate. Like I said, I had I'm not saying it just to say it. Like when I was in my early 20s, I had a huge circle. And like I said, now it's about 7 or 8 of us. And if I need anything or vice versa, they're there. Like they're there. It's a proven thing. And I've been really fortunate to have that. Like my friends are like my brothers. Like there's no ands buts about it, I depend on them more than probably anyone else and vice versa, right? Because we've proven through the testament of time that we are truly down for each other no matter what, good or bad.
Yeah, I personally, I always try to reduce my circle. I don't try to have like so many friends or get caught up in a situation where I cannot stand for you, because I believe if I'm your friend, I should be able to stand by you in any situation or any circumstance. And I also, like the last episode, we're talking about values.
Right.
So before I want to have someone or like be a friend of somebody, I have to understand that the person will share similar values, similar interests. I don't want to have a friend that we're totally opposite. We don't.
But that happens though.
I
That
mean,
happens. It
that's
happens.
that's why it got to boil down to what you want as an individual, and your definition of friendship should be your guiding tool when you want to decide the deciding factor of you getting a friend. Because for me, the saying your friend is closer than a brother is 100% true. But if you don't have a friend who is willing or able to lead you towards your goal or your destination in life, it's hard to kind of digest that information, to digest that code, because from like when you have a friend who is willing or who is able to like contribute towards your dream, you feel relieved and you feel alive. And when you're taking a challenge in life, someone got your back.
Right.
Someone got your back. I mean, your family are there too. But
Right, absolutely.
like sometimes you don't really. There's some things you're going to tell your friend that you're not going to tell your family.
Exactly.
And your friends, your family too, also like your brother or your sister, they also have their own friends, and they are not also going to like tell you everything. It's a cycle because they believe, and sometimes we're vulnerable to our friends. Some people might be vulnerable to their brothers. It's not a bad thing too. But I believe like at the end of the day, you all have to know who you're dealing with, and yourself. You got to make sure your self-interest, because people's like, oh, if you're thinking about your self-interest, you're selfish. No, that's why you got to know yourself first before you're going somewhere. So, and you have to be real. Be real before you want to get a friend. Don't fake it just to please somebody. And at the end of the day, you guys are not aligned. You want to say something?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Oh no, I'm listening.
Oh, okay, yeah. You got to be in alignment with your friends. So when you get in, you know, like, hey, this is who I am, this is who you are, and we agree. And sometimes it's not as if everything's gonna be smooth every day. Sometimes you guys are gonna have your ups and downs. Like I said earlier, you guys can fight or quarrel, and the next day you go out for lunch.
Yeah, of course.
Because the rebuke of a friend is greater than hundred of kisses of an enemy.
I like that.
The rebuke of a friend is greater, because sometimes people don't like rebuke. The moment you rebuke them, they'll be like, my feeling hurt, my feeling, blah 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 blah. But you have to understand that if this person you call your friend, you call your friend, you really believe in that person, you got to understand that they have your best interest at heart. That is why in the selection process, you have to be extremely, extremely careful who you're bringing in into your circle. The moment you get the person, you got to understand that the person is there for you. And you study people in the long run. You know if actually you can call this person a friend, because there are levels to it. Like you start with being an acquaintance. Like, hey, because let's just assume I meet you somewhere, and I'm like, oh, this guy is an interesting guy, and I want him to be my friend. He knows a lot about, let's just assume, business. And I just happen to see you. I have an opportunity to talk to you. The first thing I'm going to start by is like, hey, how you doing today? And then the next thing I just go is your family. Because everybody came from somewhere. And your family is so important to them. And the moment you start asking someone like, hey, how is your family? The person start thinking like, this person really cares about me to think about my family. And we also got to understand that when you talk to that person and you ask the person's name, the next time when you meet the person, call the person by the name. Because people love that word, like they love the name. The name is the most important sound they want to hear. Like, have you ever been in the room and someone just said Dwayne and they're not even talking about you?
No, I run.
Maybe another Dwayne, you'll be like, oh, you turn around
you automatically
and start looking like, hey, who's talking about me?
Right.
So the most important sound of every human is their name. So when you're greeting somebody, when you meet someone the first time, the second time when you're talking to them, make sure you remember the name. Like, hey, don't go and be like, what's your name again? Right. That's how important I am to you. you can't even remember my name.
Right.
So how are we
right.
going to? So you got to really.
How are we going to build a bond?
Yeah. So you got to understand that the names are so important, and when you want to build a relationship, try to remember the name, even if you forget anything. That's why for me, like if in order for me to remember your name, I might ask you like, hey, what does Dwayne mean? Or like, who gave you the name? Just try to like, just being curious. So the next time when I remember, like, hey, I asked him, what's the meaning of this? And then, bam, I remember.
That way it stuck.
Yeah, so that way just it's stuck. Like, everybody has a technique. I'm not saying follow mine, but if you think it's going to be of great help to you, you can take it as well. But at the end of the day, friendship is so important. And we as a generation got to understand that our friends are closer than a brother. I'm not saying, oh, you hate your brother or you love your friend more, but that's just the truth. Like your friends are always there for you despite your shortcomings. Because I'm not saying, sometimes some people are, your brother can be your friend.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
your brother can be your friend. So it's the same thing. So if your brother is your friend, you always like, you guys have like a common interest. You talk about some certain things. They know when you're down. They know how to lift you up. And it's also great to have your brother as a friend. And sometimes your friend is your brother. So it's vice versa. So talking about friendship, do you think sometimes we go astray by through the influence of our friends? Like sometimes your friend leads you to something that you did not want to do.
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, and it might not be your friend trying to mislead you, but it's just you being a good friend. And it could happen vice versa too, right? Like you might have an interest that they're not really fascinated in, but because they're your friend and they want to show you that support, they're going to go down that road with you, win or lose and see what the end result is. But at some point, let's say, I'm following you and I'm like, at some point you got to be honest with yourself and go, wait, this isn't for me. And if that person really is your friend, then I'm going to be able to say, hey, Ben, like, I rock with you, but yeah, this ain't for me, man. And if we're really friends, then at the end of the day, you're going to be like, you might be disappointed, anything, right? But at the end of the day, we're not going to stop being friends. You're going to be like, okay, I respect, where you're coming from. And we're going to continue to be friends and, going our separate paths, but still, be connected.
Yeah, but do you think it happens more often where people are just like, oh, this person is my friend. If they're doing this thing, I just want to just please this person. I don't want them to feel bad, and then you just do it.
I think it happens a lot more with the younger generation now, because a really big important part of friendship and the people that are around me is that we check each other. And by that I mean, if I'm in the wrong, my friends are going to tell me like, yo, you're in the wrong. I might not want to hear it. I might even cuss them out. I might not even talk to him for a couple of days. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be like, damn, he was right. And then I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to come back. I think one of the most important things about being a friend is not being a yes man. If you feel like, man, I can't tell them how I feel about this, or if they want to do this, I can't tell them like I don't agree, then you know what I'm saying? That's not a friend. That's not a friend, and you're not being a friend. Right? Because just because you're close and just because you're friends doesn't mean you have to be on the same page with everything, right? Because you're going to be indifferent about things, but that respect and that love for each other is always going to be there if it's a real friendship. And I think that gets lost. Like some people want to be a part of something, or some people want to maintain that friendship at all costs, or what they consider to be friends. They want to maintain it no matter what, even if, like, say it's a group of 5, 4 of them are aligned, and you're the one out of the 5 that's like, I'm not feeling this. But you might, under pressure, go, okay, I don't want to be the odd man out, so let me go with this. But in a real friendship, you being that odd man out, you'll never be that odd man out, because if you're not in agreement with it, then it should be fine amongst all of you.
So what you said is right, but I just want to ask you a question that I consider kind of technical. What if, let's just assume your friend's going astray, and they try to bring you in, and you're like, oh no, I don't do this, I don't vibe with that, and you think, oh, would you want to stay in that relationship, or you want to get out, or you believe they're going to change someday?
It depends on the severity of the thing.
Mhm.
Like if it's something that's like harmful,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'm gonna probably back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say it could be business, right? Because this has happened before. Like my friends, including myself, have had business interests that I wasn't interested in, or I had interest that they weren't. And they might go, hey man, I'm gonna miss on this one, but they still give me that full support, even though they're not doing whatever this business is with me, and vice versa. But if it's something harmful and they're trying to lead you into that path, then by all means, I feel like you got to get out of that, right? Because no friend or anyone that just cares about you in general is going to lead you in a path that's going to be harmful to themselves or you.
You know, it's like sometimes they don't think it's going to be harmful. They just think like, hey, we're doing something cool. And you know, everyone has a different mindset. And you don't really know the kind of mindset they have. And sometimes they'll be like, oh. And one thing, that's why it's not good to be ignorant most of the times. Because like pleasing people, if you just want to please just because it's your so-called friend and you want to do anything just to please that person, you're going to fall down. And sometimes you might not even wake up. So you have to believe that, you have to also understand that if this person is going astray, even though I'm your friend, I don't support you. And yeah, my values. For me, I have my values that are abiding by. And I'm not willing to step down just because of somebody. I try to raise my standard so high that in order for you to be with me, you gotta also raise your own standard. That's how friendship for me gotta be, because you guys gotta like try to lift one another up all the time. Even though sometimes you guys are not gonna succeed in every endeavor you put your hands in, but at least you're moving in life. You're moving forward, not going backward. And the moment you realize that this is not really a friend, do not be afraid to step away. Like there's nobody that is going to be it's permanent towards you. Like you got to understand that you're your own boss, and you got to decide who you want to be with and who you don't want to be with. You don't have to think about the guilt trip, because people are going to make you feel guilty all the time. You have to understand that peer pressure is a real thing, but you have to know that you can deal with it. The moment you can deal with peer pressure and you get out stronger, then you're strong. But the moment, if you can't really deal with peer pressure, it's going to be hard for you to really take a decision, because at the end of the day, you have to decide based on your criteria. And if you don't have a criteria, you just want to hang out with anybody, it's going to be hard for you to really move forward in life. And I just want to urge everyone watching now or listening to this podcast that please take good care of yourself before you want to even think about having a friend. And if you have a friend in your life today that you think is going the wrong route, try to being a friend, you'll have to chip in some advice to make the person reverse course and be a good person. But if they're not changing, I'm going to play with you. Try to say, hey, I really love you. It's been great being with you and being a friend, but I'm sorry. We have two different directions. This is my direction and this here. I got to follow my path. Do not be afraid to take a decision. Do you think sometimes it's hard for people to take a decision based on guilt trip?
Yes. I feel like, and I think that comes from a place of people not being 100% certain who they are themselves as well. And everyone, everyone wants to belong to something, even if it's a bad thing. So I think sometimes we basically lie to ourselves and go, like, I think you said it earlier, like we go, they'll change, things will get better. And then next thing you know, you're also in this bad situation or going down this bad road with the person because you didn't want to, quote unquote, give up on the person instead of, just realizing like, hey, this just isn't for me, and stepping away from it before it becomes a part of you as well and a negative impact. But yeah, I think a lot of people stick out just relationships in general because of guilt and people just not wanting to be alone, right?
Yeah.
Like say if you have one good good best friend, and they choose it, and you've known this person all your life, and they go down a bad path, but this person has been your best friend since forever. It's going to be hard for you to accept the fact that, oh man, we're going in two different directions, and you might be like, no, I can't be without this person. So then you stick it out, and then you go on that same path, or like you said, even worse. So yeah, I think a lot of people fall victim to peer pressure more than anything.
Yeah, and that's why, please, I want to beg everyone watching or listening to this podcast now, even if you have a friend or you don't have a friend, I just want you to take a time, like we said on the last episode, self-reflect. I want you to, like, when you're self-reflecting, take account of every single friendship you have and start asking yourself some basic questions. Is this truly my friend?
And also ask, like, what do they bring to the table? Not necessarily being materialistic, but also what do you bring to the table, right? Because it goes both ways.
Of course.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And like, am I even contributing anything to this friendship? Are they contributing into this friendship?
Yeah.
And if not, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's time to take a step back.
Yes, maybe it's time to take a step back and stop. Because sometimes you're not moving forward in life and you don't really think about your relationship. That sometimes it might be pulling you back. And because you're just, I love this person so much, even though they're going this direction, I just want to be with them, or I don't want to feel peer pressure. I just want to be like, hey, we've been friends for 10 years now, and I don't think I'm going to be able to build another relationship this solid. And you, like, whether a relationship or friendship, you have to be willing to know that at some point, something might happen. Like, the way I look at it, the way I look at my life sometimes, I just think about, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Okay.
I think about the worst scenario in any situation I find myself. The moment I think about the worst scenario, I live that moment in the present. And then when that thing happens, I don't feel anything. So you have to think about, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And if it's that you guys are not going to be friends, live, like, it's okay. You can build friendship. That's why you have to think about adding your value. Like, going back to last episode again, you have to think about adding your value. The moment you think you're valuable, people are going to run towards you. And that time you're going to do you got to do some screening to find who's actually a friend or who is trying to come to exploit you. And if you're not valuable, no one is going to come.
But do you think people are so desperate to belong that they're willing to accept what they think is friendship versus it really not being that?
Yeah, I believe a lot of people are trying to belong. They just want to be. This is why people like large crowd, large meetings, just to feel like they're part of something, which truly they are not.
Right.
Yeah, they just want to be. That's why we are, going back to what I said earlier, we are social creatures. We're not created to be alone.
Okay.
We're created to be like in relationship with one another. But at the same time, that does not mean you're going to like put your own happiness or your own peace aside just to be with somebody. If the person is not going in the same direction with you, you have to step back and think like, hey, what are my own values? What do I want to create? How do I see myself how do I see myself and my values and principles in alignment with this person I am with right now? What do they bring in? What am I giving? What am I contributing into this friendship? Because it's not one way. At the end of the day, friendship, the ship is like you're shipping something into the relationship. And the person too is also shaping something. So it's not all like, oh, he's not my friend, he's not bringing nothing. And you sitting there, you're not even doing nothing as well. So you also got to think about yourself, like, what am I doing in order to move this friendship to another level? And together, if you guys are doing that together, I think it's going to be great for both parties. But if you're just sitting and expecting that someone is going to do things for you and you're not doing anything in return, it's going to be hard. And you also have to have a strong mindset to know that at some point in life, the person might leave you.
Right.
The person might leave you. There's nobody that's going to stick with you forever. If you're opportune or lucky and you have a good friends that you guys are going to be forever, bravo to you.
Right.
Bravo to you. But most of the times in life, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen
Yeah,
frequently.
everything changes. Yeah,
Yeah.
like case in point, my best friend when I was 10, you know, you're like, oh, this is gonna be my best friend forever.
Yeah.
And then when you're 14, you get a whole nother new best friend. You're like, oh, this is gonna be my best friend. You know what I mean? And it just goes on and on and on and on. But I have a question. Like, what do you say to the person that's just socially awkward, right? Like they want to have a friendship, even just one real friend, but they're just maybe socially awkward and just not good at meeting people or making that connection with anyone. Like, what advice would you give that person? Because there's a lot of people that want to have just even one real legit friend, right? But they just struggle to, you know, make that connection.
Yeah, that's a really good question you just asked now. And to anybody watching to this episode on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify and you're socially awkward, I want to tell you this. Do not try to make friends right now. What I want you to do is invest in yourself and try to make yourself better by thinking about there's some certain things you got to know how to do before you want to get into any relationship. First, how do you talk to people? Second, how do you communicate? How do you effectively communicate? Because sometimes, like, being socially awkward, you're talking about, like, being an introvert.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, when you're an introvert, you got to learn how to step out of your comfort zone. That's the first thing. Try to step out of your comfort zone. Like, if you see somebody, you think, oh, you guys are kind of in alignment in principles-wise or value-wise or anything, and you think, oh, this person is going to be a good friend for me. First, you got to approach the person to talk.
Mm-hmm.
It might be awkward. Just try it. Just say, hey, how you doing today? I mean, even if you don't feel good, just say. It might be awkward at first, and then you just like, hey, be sincere. Be sincere. Like, hey, I'm an introvert, or I'm socially awkward.
Well, no one says that. No
Yeah,
one's gonna,
no.
I mean, gonna say that.
Yeah, don't say.
Hey, I'm Dwayne. I'm socially awkward, by the way. Would you want to go out for a drink? No one says that.
If I'm the one, right? I'm not going to say socially awkward, but I'm going to say I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I don't really know how to make friends and so on. So it has been tough over for the couple of, like, let's just say 2 months, 5 years or so, finding a real friend that I can really relate to. That we can share values together, talk about our principles, and like have a common interest. Because socially awkward. Nobody makes you socially awkward.
Right.
Who give someone an identity of being a socially awkward person?
I think sometimes it could be just circumstance.
Sometimes it's just the mindset.
Yeah,
For me, I believe it's a mindset, and you can change that. It's not permanent.
That's easier said than done, though.
It's easier said than done. But you got, like, I'm going to tell you, for example, I personally was an introvert. I'm going to say, even right now,
You, Benrolins, was a
even right now, I still consider myself an introvert.
you.
Yeah,
How?
I love to be alone. I love spending time with myself. People don't know this, but I love spending time with myself. Like, but sometimes, like, when I get into an environment, let's just say work or something, I want to change the mood. Like, I don't want people just sitting down depressed and stuff like that. Like, I want to be able to be like, hey, man, how you doing? Like, get up. Like, let's go. Let's try to, like, cheer people up. But when they see me doing all the stuff, they're just like, man, this guy's an extrovert. But at the same, I'm going to say I'm 50-50. I'm introvert and extrovert. But you have to, like, when growing up as a kid, I was the guy who would just step back, like lay back and just quiet by myself. Like, I don't really like talk. But in the long run, I realized that in order for me to, like, get ahead in life, I have to step out of my comfort zone. So I'm challenging anybody listening to this podcast episode or watching on YouTube that, hey, you got to be willing right now to step out of your comfort zone. Just start by talking to people. Don't try to make friends right now.
Yeah, and see, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of you. I'm very, like, extrovert. So me being alone is what I'm working on. Like even just, like, going out alone. Like, I'm the complete opposite. I've been working on, like, just maybe going out for a drink by myself or so, something small.
And that is good. Like, when you learn how to be alone, like, you become mentally strong. In, like, even when you find yourself in some certain circumstances, you're like, oh man, I can do this. You go into those challenges with, like, a strong mind and you don't let it defeat you. But the moment if you're just an extrovert and you just want to be around people all the time, just talk to people, have a good relationship and vibe like that. Sometimes when life will knock you down and let's just assume you have a good
Which
friend
it will do.
and you call and maybe the person is having like their own issues to take care of and they're not there for you at the moment.
Right.
You feel like, oh,
I'm alone.
Yeah, I'm alone now.
Nobody's there for me.
Yeah, you're like, I can't deal with this. That's why the first thing, don't even try to make, if you don't have a friend right now, I'm going to advise you to step back and work on being alone. Can you take yourself out for lunch?
Yeah,
that's a real thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, people don't even take themselves.
I'm just learning how to do that. I'm just like literally.
You got to go out. Take yourself a lunch. When you go to a restaurant, when you get to a restaurant, you tell the waiter like, "Hey, I want a perfect position just for one person." They'll be like, "Wow, I like the energy." You sit there, enjoy your meal. Go back home, relax, chill, and take a walk, reflect. And think like, what are my goals? Be mentally strong. And the moment you're adding value to yourself, people are going to be attracted to you.
But do you think, because you're way younger than me, so this is a question of your generation. Do you think friendship is like a lost thing now? Like, do you think it's becoming more and more uncommon for people to have real friends? Like with the generation coming up? The reason I say that, because you see like, you see it in the news, you see it in different blog posts, friends literally hurting each other. Well, who should have been their friend, the person closest to them, hurting them.
Yeah, your question is really right. I want to start by saying this. Most people, sometimes when they want to go into a real relationship or friendship, they're going to be like, oh, real friends don't exist. Real friends don't exist. That's what is going to be on the mindset. They were like, oh, no, real friends don't exist. And if you're going into any relationship or friendship with that mindset, obviously you're not going to choose the right person because you think everyone is fake.
But what do you think contributes to that mind state? Like now, like like younger guys. Like we work with people that are younger, and you can kind of hear it when they talk, and you're like man, like okay.
Yeah, because sometimes it's based on experiences and the stuff they have been watching on this, like social media and stuff like that is like exacerbated stuff the wrong way. People just think like, oh, all this flashy, I got to find someone who got like some expensive things on, blah, blah, blah. If someone is not doing this, it's not a real friend. And at the end of the day, you have to be real. Be real and know what you're going after. It's hard to make friends. It's hard to make friends if you think everyone is fake.
Right.
You got to know there's some real people out there. Right. And how do you find real people? By being real yourself. And when you're real yourself, you're going to attract real people. But when you fake, you only attract what you're going to attract fake people. That's what, even in a love relationship or anything, you attract what you impress. You attract what you impress. If you're only getting the same thing, you got to retrace your step and think, what am I doing? Yeah, what am I doing? And that if you really study yourself, you're going to realize that there's some things you're doing that attracts this certain type of people all the time. It always boils down to what are you doing? Yeah. And you got to think about that. Because people go into a relationship, they don't even think about what they're doing. They just think, oh, I just want someone to vibe with. I just want a friend that we can go out for lunch together, or someone we can go take a beer, drinks, take some shots, get late and stuff like that. They don't really think about like values
or the long run.
Is this person going to be with me when I have like a really down moment in my life? People don't really think that. It's like, oh man, we're gonna get bottles in the weekend, just get lit and stuff like that.
Well, can you say that you've lost friends along the way?
I've lost a lot of friends.
Okay.
And just like the song I said, I've been losing friends and finding peace. But honestly, that sounds like a fair trade to me. Yeah, I've lost friends. And most of the times, like me personally, it's not as if the people don't want me to be their friends, but I just realized that our goals are not the same.
Like, we're going different ways.
We're going different directions. Yeah, so I just had to like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm confident. Like, even my friends, they're going to tell you. Like me, I'm someone who is going to tell you my mind. it's not in a negative way.
Right, you're just being real. You're just
I'm
being
real. And
Yeah.
sometimes you got to understand that not everybody
They're
is
trying
strong.
to attack you. Or,
Yeah, it's strong to take it.
They're just
So,
trying to.
Yeah, so I know the approach I use, but I'm real. Like I always tell my friends when they're going the wrong direction, I'm like, hey, this thing you're doing is not right. Or if they do something that I think is totally inappropriate, I'm going to tell them. And me telling them is not like, hey, I know everything that's right, and they don't know anything.
Right.
I'm just trying to like give my own kind of
And be
suggestion.
genuine about it.
Yeah, genuine about it. But sometimes when you do that, people don't listen.
Yeah. Or they feel offended.
Yeah, they feel
or attacked.
Yeah, they feel offended. They think like, oh, who are you to tell me this?
Right.
Yeah, I've been doing this all my life. And
So what do you do with that friend? Because we all have that. Have a friend like that. No matter what, they're gonna do what they want to do, and you're just like, oh, okay, all right.
The moment, sometimes you gotta start asking yourself, is this truly a friend?
Okay.
Is this truly a friend?
Yeah.
Or it's an acquaintance?
Right.
You gotta know the balance of both. Like people think everyone is a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are acquaintance, like someone who you just think like, hey, this guy, sometimes we can go out and have a beer together or stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's an acquaintance. Like you can just have a good conversation.
Right. That's not necessarily
but friends, people come closer. Like
that's like they become family.
Yeah. So it's kind of different. So if someone is like that, obviously that's not my friend.
So my question, without being too personal, has there been a friend, without you having to be too personal about it, but have you had a friend throughout the years that your friendship ended, but it actually really made you step back and go like, damn, like, man, like, you know what I mean? It made you even question yourself maybe at first, like, did I do something wrong? Or
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not really had that kind of I've never really had that experience before. But I'm gonna say when I came to America, and I had some friends back home, and I realized that I had to do some self-reflection.
And for those that don't know, where is home?
Cameroon. Yes. I wanted to ask Benrolins home, but yeah, Cameroon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Cameroon. Yeah, so I had to do some self-reflection and think about, hey, what are my values? Are we really in alignment? Or I just had these guys as friends just because of let's just say fun or something like that.
Convenience.
Yeah, I had to think and like no. And then I had to cut some relationship off. I'm like, no, we're not friends. When they keep calling me, I send them a message. I'm like, no, man, we can talk, but I'm not going to be there for you all the time. Like we're not friends, and people don't really want to hear that.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, they get offended.
Of course not. No one wants rejection.
And guess what? When I did that, and it happened that I posted a picture on Facebook. This dude went to my Facebook profile and then went to the picture and commented some kind of crazy comment.
Oh wow!
I was like,
he was in his feelings. Yeah, he was in his feelings.
Yeah, but I've not really had like an experience where I was like, oh, did I do something wrong? But sometimes you can question yourself in some other areas in life. But for friendship, I don't really think I've had that experience. For one, I'm going to say I'm privileged.
Okay.
To be in a position where a lot of people want to be my friend. I'm privileged. I can say I'm privileged when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. But I always try as much as possible to be careful with who I choose to be my friends. I always say, most of the times I say no. And people don't like it when I say no. They're like, you think you're so full of yourself, you just think you're everything. No. It's not as if I feel like I'm everything. It's because I know myself, and I don't want to commit into something which which I was not really prepared to commit.
Right.
I want to go into something wholeheartedly. I don't want to go and like, hey, no, this is not what I wanted to do in the first place, and blah blah. Nah, I just say in my mind, I'm like, hey, this not, because if you don't know what you want, you're just going to keep on going everywhere and end up nowhere
until you figure it out. Well, hopefully you figure it out. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's why in order for you to gain any valuable friend, you have to think about yourself first. I'm going into this relationship. What am I getting out of this relationship? and what am I bringing in? What am I contributing into this person's life?
Mm.
Because it's not always going to be a one way. And the moment you think that person is exploiting you or trying to like take advantage of you, have a serious conversation. And if the conversation might not go the way you want it to go, but at least you're saying something, and you got to study the person after that conversation. Have a real conversation.
See how they react.
Yeah, see how they react. Because sometimes people are going to be, oh, who do you think you are? You can't talk to me like this. Blah, blah, blah.
They go into defense mode.
Yeah, and you got to understand, is the person reacting just because of the moment, or just because of the circumstance, or they're going through some really serious stuff in their life at the present time?
And I think an important thing to realize with like real friends is realizing that a genuine friend, and it goes both ways. You don't want anything from them. They don't want anything from you. The only thing you want for each other is genuinely the best, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's the case, it will naturally show that person has your best interests at heart. Like I said, they might not agree with everything you do. They might not agree with your, whatever the case may be, but it'll always come off as them being genuine toward you, and vice versa. It won't ever seem like they're trying to, put you down or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Somebody might be listening to me or watching this podcast episode right now and be like, hey, Ben just sat down and was saying, hey, you got to find a friend who is in alignment with your values, or someone who is willing and able to help you reach or your destination in life or your dreams. And sometimes you might be, let's just say, a basketball player, and you want to have a football player, and you don't know anything about football. How does that relate? I'm going to tell you this, if that's what is going on in your mind, you have to know what you want first. Before you want to go into any relationship, know what you want and know who you are. Like, let's just say, you want to have a friend. You're a basketball player, you want to have a friend who is a football player. You have to know, who are you and what are you going to chip into this relationship, and what are you going to get out of it. And you have to start thinking from day one. You don't have to go in and then like, hey, why did I get myself into this place? Like, blah, blah, blah. You can have a friend who is like who have different perspective. When I say perspective, I'm talking about like the person can be in a different field, and you want to learn about the field, and but you have to have something of common interest that you can start from there.
Right.
But you can't just go into any like friendship and you don't even know anything.
And be complete opposite.
Yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. But if you think that's your thing, like finding friends who are complete opposite of what you're doing, I mean, if it works for you, go ahead. But for me personally, I always try to find someone who share value, who share the same values. Not every values might be the same,
right?
But at least the principal ones
the core values.
Yes, the core values are the same, and from there we can build something great. And I believe like my friends are closer to me than my brothers. My friends, there's some things I speak about. We speak about that even my brothers don't even know anything about. So I think if you have a friend and you always there to help, always there to improve the person's life in one way or the other, and they know that I have someone who I can rely on if something goes south in my life. That's really important.
It is.
That's really important. The moment you start doing that and focusing on how can I improve this person's life, how can I be of meaning to this person's life, how can I be of help to this person's life, how can I contribute positively into this person's life, and then all of a sudden there's a switch. Once you start doing that and you're thinking that way, you have to also start thinking about having a conversation of like, hey, how can we build this friendship into something great? It's not all about just sitting down and having a conversation. It's like, hey, are we growing?
As individuals,
yes.
and as a circle.
Yeah, are we growing? Are you growing personally? Am I growing personally? How can we help each other to attain the level we all want to attain? Like, there have to be a real conversation. And if you don't agree and you feel like, oh, this is not my friend, don't be scared to step back.
And I think a lot of times, like you said, having a real conversation, sometimes it doesn't go beyond the conversation. And that can also be a contributing factor to things not going right? Because it's easy to talk about it. It's easy to say, hey, we got this plan, but without, the action behind it, you know what I mean? It's just that. It's just talking.
Yeah, so. That's why you have to be self-disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
That's where self-discipline comes in. You have to be self-disciplined, and discipline is a real thing. It's a real. I for one, I'm still working on my self-discipline. You have to put yourself in a situation where you stop procrastinating. You gotta stop procrastinating. Stop saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow," or "I'm gonna do it Friday." Friday comes, I'm gonna do it Saturday. Saturday comes, Sunday. The moment you keep doing that all the time, like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it days." You put yourself in a situation where you don't take action anymore. You're just like, whatever, tomorrow, that, and you might not think it might not affect you that day, but it's affecting you slowly. Before you realize it, you don't get things done anymore.
And you've just wasted time.
Yeah, you don't get things done anymore. Yeah. And it's really hard. It's going to be really hard for you to do something meaningful if you're having that attitude of like procrastinating all the time. Like, hey, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like stuff like that. So I believe like you have to put yourself in a situation where you're self-disciplined in the way that when you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. If I say I'm going to do it today.
And hold each other accountable too, right?
Yeah,
that's the biggest part, right?
Yeah, that's right.
If for instance Ben has a dream and we're friends and Ben has this big dream and it's not my, his dream is not my dream. It's still my job as his genuine friend to make sure he doesn't give up and keeps pushing toward his dream. So when I see him slack, even though I don't have any interest in his dream, as his friend, I still need to go, hey, man, I thought you were supposed to do this today. Why you do that today?
Yeah, you told me that.
Why you ain't supposed to, you know what I mean? And make sure he stays on top of it, So that's very important, too, to hold each other accountable at all times. Like, you don't have to share that person's vision. You don't have to share that person's dream. But if you're going to call yourself that person's genuine friend, then you need to hold them just as accountable for their own vision as they do your own, and vice versa. Hold each other accountable.
Yeah, that's 100% right. I agree with what you just said now, because sometimes we don't want to hold them accountable because we don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
Which is like, how is he going to feel about this? If you're a friend and you're scared to talk to your friend, then that's not true friendship.
I mean, you're not the friend.
Yeah, that's not true friendship. Because if you really consider yourself that person's friend, you should be able to like speak to that person, especially when you're trying to hold a person accountable.
Yeah, and let them know how you feel.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, hey, bro, you told me that you're gonna do this, and I've not seen you doing that. What's going on? And sometimes they might open up like, hey, man, I didn't do this. I didn't do that thing because I had some challenges, and I'm going to do it maybe in 2 months' time. And now, as a friend, you got to start thinking like, hey, how do I contribute personally?
How do I pick him up?
Yeah, like to make sure he's doing this stuff, even though he had some challenges. What can I do? What can I offer? What kind of advice can I give him? What can I say that's going to uplift? Like when you're with somebody long enough, you know the person.
Right, you know them better than they know themselves.
Yeah, you know some things about the person that sometimes they feel. Sometimes they just like disregard that area in their life.
Yep.
And being a true friend, you know, like, hey,
you know the signs. Like, okay, he's about to do his usual. Let me go get him.
Yeah, you know the time to press. You know some buttons you can press that will be like, hey, the person's ego is gonna come out, and you know how to fit into that ego. Like, hey, do this, blah blah blah. Yep. You make them feel alive, because if you're a friend and you don't know the person you're friends with, you don't even know their when they're down, you don't even know when they're strong, you don't even know some certain things about the person. You're not really a friend.
Right.
And being a friend is real. Yeah. You have to be there for the person's need. I mean, you might not have the financial resource to help the person all the time, but just being there.
Yep,
it's
that's
really
half
important.
the battle. Man.
Yeah, just being there is really important, because sometimes people want to feel like there's somebody who has my back.
Yep.
The person might not have the financial results to back me up, but the person will believe in me that he can like
And
just give me some lively advice.
yeah, and having that back doesn't also mean just like agreeing with them, just to agree with them, right? Having
Yeah.
that back is like when you think they're doing something crazy, you're like, like
Say
no,
it.
like no, bro,
Yeah,
this ain't
say
this ain't the move.
Yeah,
Like this
say
ain't the move. And at the end of the day, they might say, "Hey, I'm still gonna do it," but
Yeah.
being a genuine friend, you gotta take that chance and go,
Yeah.
"Hey, it's your decision at the end of the day, but I don't think you should make this move."
Yeah.
You know,
Even
And-
if they don't listen at the time,
Right.
they're going to like think about it in the long run. Like, hey,
Right.
what I did was not right. How can I try to like cause react and try to be in alignment with my own values and my principles and do this thing the right way. Sometimes a thing, but not everybody do think or do self-reflect. So as a friend, you gotta know your friend too.
honesty.
Yeah, honesty is key.
Honesty,
is
honesty,
key.
honesty.
And do not lie, because
Honesty.
some people try to lie just to make the person feel happy.
Yeah, and you're not helping them.
You're
You're
not.
not. You're just
Yes.
actually creating another barrier.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, because and sometimes people will believe our friends so much that whatever they say, we believe it's true.
Yep.
They'll be like, even though they're
But
lying
we're
to
all
you.
guilty of it. We've
Yeah.
all done it. Like you go,
Yeah.
if I tell such and such what I'm really thinking, he's not gonna. But then you go, man, I'm actually, in the long run, you're hurting them
Yeah.
because you're just setting them up for possibly a bigger disappointment or something, And the first thing they're gonna say is, well, why didn't you?
Yeah.
You're my friend. How come you didn't tell me? Like,
So you gotta be ready to be wrong.
yeah.
Be wrong. Like even if what you think at the present time is not right, like just share your thoughts with the person, like your concerns, and the person is gonna take it from there. Ultimately, you're not trying to impose that, hey guy, you have to do this. No, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
What we're saying is try to chip in some ideas, some suggestion. Let it come in as a suggestion. Like, hey, I think what you're doing, what you're trying to do is not right. And if you do this, you might not get the results you ought to get, or what you're thinking you're gonna get. And start thinking from that perspective, suggestion. But if you're coming in and trying to impose things on that person, he's not gonna take it.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, oh, this person is trying to like do this to me.
Right.
I got my own values. I know what I want. You don't come to my life and start telling me what to do. Even my mom don't tell me things. Like, people just get so offensive. Like, damn.
Yeah.
So try to always be present. Like, be there, chip in when necessary, and always ship in something valuable in the relationship, and always to have a conversation with your friend about lively goals. Are we growing? You have to think about you growing. If you guys were friends 5 years ago and everything is still the same, please start thinking there's a problem.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be growing as a person, and your friend have to also be growing too. And you don't always have to think about yourself, and forget about the person.
Yeah, and if you guys become complacent, and like I said, even in my crew, we're guilty of it. If you become complacent, doesn't mean you're not meant to be friends. It means it's time to step back, and it's time for you guys to figure things out and figure out how to take things to the next level for yourselves and for each other, and as individuals and as as a crew. You got to figure it out.
And sometimes it's time for you guys to step aside and go separate ways. It's time for you guys not to be friends anymore. And you don't have to be scared of when it comes to that point in life, and you don't have to be scared to take the decision of stepping backward and like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm glad I was so happy when we're friends, and I enjoyed the journey together. Man, we've come to the end of this relationship. Have that conversation and do not be scared. And it's a tough one, and some people don't want to hurt other people's feelings. So just trying to tag along, but the friendship is dead already, but you don't want to talk. So be ready and honest with yourself. Is this friendship going where I want it to go? Are we truly friends, or we are no more friends anymore? And you're scared to have this solid conversation. Be real. Don't fake it. Because the moment you keep on faking it, after a while you realize like, hey, this ain't it.
Right.
This ain't it. Like I said, if someone got nothing and you have nothing and you guys are friends, please, someone got to go find something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
ignorant and the person is ignorant,
Yeah, and,
like-
and that's the thing. Sometimes you got to be that spark, right?
Yes.
Because even if you guys are complacent, it doesn't mean you're not meant to be friends.
mm-hmm.
But like Ben said, it means it's time for somebody in that group to stand up
Yeah.
and step up.
Yeah.
And then if you're that person to step up and create that spark, then everyone gets that spark, and you
course.
guys can.
Like if you're broke, let's just say you're poor and you have a friend who's poor and you have a financial situation. What do you think? Nothing can happen. Someone got to go get something.
Gotta go get it. Yeah.
Someone got to go get something. At least don't like me. I don't make. I don't make friends. I don't have friends. I don't try to like make friends who are broke. I don't try to have broke friends.
What? What?
I don't try to get broke friends.
Define broke.
No. Let me not say broke. I mean, sometimes you might not have money. And
Right.
Let's just say poor friends.
That's not better. No.
I don't have poor friends. Someone who like, hey, poverty is not money.
I think what you're trying to say
Poverty is a mindset.
I think what you're trying to say is like you don't reach out for friends that don't have the mindset to go out and get.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Poverty is not like not having money. It's the mindset. Someone might not have money today, but the person is worthy.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So I would rather be with somebody who don't have money today, but have a solid mindset
to go out there
and it's a go-getter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Because sometimes when you say poverty, people think like, oh,
right.
I don't
like,
have money. No, that's not what I mean. What I'm trying to say is someone who have a negative mindset or who is not even willing to even try.
Someone that doesn't want better for themselves.
Bet on themselves. Like, no,
I get you on that.
I cannot be friends with a person. Like, if you're that kind of person, I'm sorry, we cannot be friends.
Gotcha.
And even if I was friends, let's just say I was a kid and we were friends, and growing up, the moment I started realizing that, hey, this person is not a go-getter or he's just trying to be the same or just a professional victim, I'm going to have a conversation with you and like, hey, bro, I want the best for you and I also want the best for myself. So what are we doing?
Right, what are we going to do?
Yeah, what are we doing? Like, hey, are you going to be better or am I going to be better?
Or we're going to be better together.
Yeah, we're going to be better together. But if you just want to be, if the person is not even willing to listen or try to move forward in life,
yeah, it's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's time to be yourself and try to build yourself from there. Because do not try to please somebody just to be in a relationship. Don't, because you might end up in a situation where you do not want to find yourself. And the moment you find yourself in that situation, you're like, oh my God, it's too late. It's too late. Take a decision, but always, before you want to take any decision, try to think about, have I been a good friend?
Mm-hmm.
Have I been a good friend? Because sometimes we get caught up in the moment and we're just like, hey, this person is not doing this. This person is not doing that. This person is not doing this. And we're not even thinking about ourselves like, hey, have I been there? Have I been there for this person?
Right.
Have I been contributing positively into this person's life? You got to also think about that. Have I been a good friend? Because people are not even a good friend, but they want a lot of things from the other person.
Exactly. Yeah, one-way type of relationship.
And some people don't have friends today, not because people don't want to be with them because they're bad, but because they have a lot of baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody want to come to you because you have a lot of baggage. People have a lot they're going through in life.
They got their own problems.
And if they're coming to you, you're just like, oh, they'll be like, no, this is not what I want in my life.
Right.
So please work on yourself and you're going to have a solid relationship. And I believe friendship is so dear. It's so dear to everybody listening or watching this episode. Either you're watching on YouTube or listening to our episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Hey, Dwayne, do you have anything to say before we end this episode?
Yep. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button. I just want to say one last time that to me, and to anyone listening, friendship, it's whatever you define it as. But for me, it's loyalty, honesty, and just support. between individuals and it being genuine. Whether it's, friendship isn't just a one-way thing. It's not, you're my friend, so I'm going to agree with you. It's having those good days, it's having those bad days, but no matter what, being able to reunite at the end of it and still be there for one another. And last but not least, just don't settle. Don't be so anxious to belong that you just settle for what you think is friendship. Real friendship is a blessing, and if you have it, you got to make sure that you cherish it and make sure the other person on the other side cherishes it just as much. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for everything you just said now. And I want to say this before I conclude. I want to say sometimes topics like this are controversial, even though they're not supposed to be controversial. So if you think we said something today that you don't agree with,
comment.
Load it down in the comment section.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We're gonna respond. I'm gonna be there on the comment section. Anything we said today that you don't agree with, just load it up in the comment section.
And if it's something that you do agree with, but you just want to build more or just share your own experiences, please by all means comment.
Yeah, just comment, and we're gonna tackle it together. And you're gonna see us in the comment section. So please, if you forgot everything we said today, we want you to work on yourself and believe that you're great. Before you want to go into any relationship, you have to be self-aware, and when you're going into that relationship, know that you're going to ship in something. Do not go into any relationship just thinking that the person that you're friends with is just going to be giving you everything. You're just there to receive. You're there to also contribute. And if you've forgotten everything we said today, just think about that every single day. And if you're socially awkward, I'm going to advise you, do not try to make friends right now. The best thing you can do now is just try to talk to people. Just step out of your comfort zone. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? My name is Benrolins. Just be around. Just be around people. Just have a conversation. Start from there. Start from somewhere. Like your family. How do you talk to your family? Start having serious conversation. In the long run, you're going to realize that it's not really a big deal talking to somebody, especially when you want the person to have a friend, to be your friend. It's not a big deal, but you have to be confident and step out of your comfort zone. Nobody is a rock. Everyone has feelings, and sometimes we put ourselves in a position where we're kind of scared or shy or something. It happens to everyone, but that does not make you socially awkward. That's an identity in your mind. So you got to take it out first and start talking to people and then build from there. So thank you for listening to this episode on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and those watching us on YouTube. Please do not forget, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. We want you to put the word out there. We want you to share with your friends, your loved ones, your family. Let them listen to Benrolins Blueprints. They have to laugh with the best and learn from the best. Thank you very much and enjoy your day or your night.
See you next time.
Benrolins Blueprints comes to an end. Thank you.